Hello, my name is Joshua and welcome to the first scripted video on this channel. Yay! So hopefully you'll be hearing less ums and ahs throughout this video. Today I thought I'd go through something that I discovered was a thing and I had to make a video on. The Queen Iceberg. If you have been living under a rock for the past few months, an iceberg is based on one subject and ranges from things that most people know about that subject and progressively gets more satanic. This one by Spider the Duck stood out to me the most because it includes many things about the band that most hardcore fans won't actually know. The creator of this iceberg has also explained some of these in the comments of his Reddit post. I will be quoting him for some of these lower tiers that I am not so sure about and couldn't find a lot of information about. So let's start where all icebergs start, at the start. This one is a really easy one to find. You can just type in Freddie's name and it will just be in the Wikipedia page. So yeah, basically Farouk Bulsara was Freddie's birth name, which when he started touring with Queen later changed to Freddie Bulsara. Then finally in 1971 he legally changed it to the name we all know and love, Freddie Mars. Smile was a band created by former 1984 members Brian May and Tim Staffel. Roger Taylor joined to form the group after seeing an advertisement on his college notice board informing him that Brian and Tim needed a Ginger Baker type drummer for their band and were opening auditions. Roger then got the job and the trio was signed to a label in 1969, which meant they got to create songs in a professional studio the same year. Tim was attending art college that year where he met Freddie and became friends. He introduced Freddie to the band. Freddie became a fan and attended most of their gigs. In 1970, Tim left to join another band, Humpy Bong. Smile disbanded, Freddie joined to create Queen, and the rest was history. Smile recorded 6 songs in total in both Trident Studios in Soho and Delaney Studios in Holborn, which can be heard today with a quick YouTube search. Tim wrote a few songs that were never performed or recorded, such as Silver Salmon, which was later recorded as a demo by Queen in 1977. These ones are kind of random, they're just random performances from the late 70s, but I'll go through them anyway. In February and December, Queen performed in the Sam Houston and the Summit in Texas. There was no footage or audio released of the February show, and there's both audio and video of the December show. Queen later performed 2 more shows at the Summit during 1980 and 1982. On the 6th and 7th of June, Queen performed at the Earl's Court in London. Footage and audio of both performances are available, but the second performance is very low quality. Hyde Park was Queen's one and only free concert and was part of their short summer tour of 76. Audio and video is available to the public as well, so yeah. After News of the World was released, Roger decided to sing, produce and perform his first 2 pieces of solo work, I Wanna Testify and Turn on the TV. These songs were released as a single that same year, but unfortunately didn't perform very well in the charts. The song was actually a mix between 2 songs, The Parliament's I Wanna Testify and The Persuasion's Women and Drinking. In 1981 he released his first solo album, Fun in Space, which peaked at number 18 in the British album charts. Since then he has released an additional 4 albums, his last being Fun on Earth from 2013. Brian started his solo career fully in 1992 with his debut album Back to the Light, which got to number 6 in the UK charts. Since then he's released the album Another World in 1998 and wrote the soundtrack to the 1999 French sci-fi film Fioria. He's most recently producing songs for a new and upcoming band called King's Daughters. Norman Sheffield was the manager for Queen from 1972 to 1975 and owned one of the companies in the Trident Studios group. After a fallout with the company and Norman himself, due to the band being paid minimum weekly wage, £60, the band hired a new lawyer, Jim Beach, and signed to the new label EMI. It was most likely that the opening song of A Night at the Opera, Death on Two Legs, was a diss track at Norman for how badly they were treated during that time. Sheffield sued the band due to this reason, which led to an out-of-court settlement. Norman wrote about this incident in his 2013 book Life on Two Legs, Set the Record Straight, which was published a year before his death in June 2014. See What a Fool I've Been is a non-album track which is a B-side to 70s of Rye, and according to Brian, was based on a Brownie McGee and Sonny Terry song, The Way I Feel, and was rumoured to be played live by Smile. Enough said. Hangman is a currently unreleased demo recorded by the band during the debut sessions. The song has been performed a few times during this time, suggesting that the demo may be close to a finished track. The live versions can be easily found on the web. The Cross were a band created in 1987 by Roger Taylor, who was the lead singer and rhythm guitarist for the band. The band also included Clayton Moss on lead guitar, Peter Noon on bass, and John McRae on drums. They released 3 albums and went on 3 tours supporting the albums before splitting up in 1993. Roger later released these albums remastered in his 2013 box set The Lot, which also includes all of his solo work. The band reunited the same year for a one-off performance in Guildford, 25 years after their breakup. In 1972, whilst the recording of the debut was taking place, Freddie was approached by Trident Studios house engineer Robin Cable, who wanted someone to record chorus for I Can Hear Music, the Ronettes song, and Going Back, a Dusty Springfield song, for a musical project he was working on. Robin thought that Freddie's voice would be perfect for the songs, so Freddie accepted. The songs featured Brian on guitar and Roger on drums, basically making them Queen songs, but Freddie did not want the Queen name used for the release, so instead created the name Larry Lorex. The songs were released as a single 1 week before the debut album was released. Performances that were set to release, such as Live Killers and Wembley, usually had overdubs in the studio by the band on parts they were unhappy with. These overdubs were usually on multi-tracks of the live performances so that the original recording couldn't be heard underneath, which was not the case with the Wembley performance, as the original vocals can be heard underneath the overdubs. Feelings Feelings was a near enough complete demo recorded by the band during the News of the World sessions. The song was confirmed to exist by a playing of take 9 of the song at the 2001 fan club convention, and in 2011 a take 10 of the song was remastered and released on the deluxe edition of News of the World. The night before Queen was to perform a few songs for the popular American skit show Saturday Night Live in 1982, Freddie apparently had a fight with his then boyfriend Bill Reed, which left him with a very poor voice the next morning. He spent all day trying to recover his voice in time for the show, but his vocals were still not up to his standards. Bill was very abusive towards Freddie, and one time, during a fight the night before the Milton Keynes concert, bit Freddie so hard on the hand that he was taken to hospital and required stitches. Vocal nodules are hard, rough growths on your vocal cords and are often caused by straining or overusing your voice. This was exactly what Freddie did at the beginning of their North American tour of 1975 and was diagnosed with the condition later that month. When Freddie was given the opportunity to get them removed, he denied, worrying that it would affect his vocals. The condition would affect him for the rest of his life and can be heard in live performances spanning the next 10 years. On the 1st of December, Queen performed at the Apollo Theatre in Glasgow. This is considered one of the best Queen performances, mainly due to Freddie's vocal state. This is evident in their performance of Bohemian Rhapsody, where Freddie manages to hit a C5 on matching the studio version. This was the first and only time he would hit this note. In early 1983, Queen's manager Jim Beach and tour manager Jerry Stickles flew to South America with hopes of arranging a few dates for the band later in 1983. The tour proved to be too expensive and dangerous, so it was cancelled very early in the process. I'm not really sure about this one, and I've even asked Spider about this on Reddit, but I got no reply. I guess this is referring to multi-tracks of Queen songs that are not yet released to the public, as there is probably a few, but yeah, I'm fortunately not so sure on this one. This was the infamous show in which Freddie, after singing Hammer to Fall, falls down a complicated flight of stairs that was built for the set. He was helped to the piano, and the band, realising that Freddie was in serious pain, decided to cut the set list a few songs short. After the show, he was taken to hospital. His leg was bandaged for the rest of the tour due to this, and he would have problems with his leg for quite a long time. Freddie was actually having problems with his leg before this show as well, with a bad right knee ligament, and was just recovering from that. Audience audio of this moment taking place can be found on YouTube. Mike Millard was someone who managed to record every single performance in the Los Angeles Forum from 1974 to 1980 and continued to take performances after that. His recordings are usually high quality due to the equipment he used, which he concealed under a wheelchair to avoid being spotted. This obviously means that he managed to capture many Queen concerts in the Forum, and most of them are available to the public on YouTube today. It is known among fans that for the Nebworth concert of 1986, they were to perform the concert as they did for the Wembley show, but apparently, according to Brian, they forgot to record. This later appeared to be a lie, as Queen archivist Greg Brooks confirmed that professional footage does in fact exist, even if it is just over half and not the full performance. Also confirmed to exist was a bunch of pre-concert shots, backstage interviews and professional audio of the full concert. Some snippets of One Vision and God Save the Queen can actually be found in various documentaries and news reports. During the 80s, Freddie was involved in some of Billy Squier's albums, as they were friends at the time. This began in 1982, where Freddie joined with Roger, did backing vocals for the song Emotions in Motion, and ended in 1986, with Freddie singing an intro to and performing backing vocals for the 12-inch version of Love is the Hero. His vocals were also planned to be included in Lady with a Tenor Sax, which he co-wrote, but were not included. An early take of the song on the 2000 CD box set Solo shows what it would have sounded like with Freddie's vocals. This was an early version of Let Me Live, the song that later turned up on the Made in Heaven album of 1995. It was originally intended to be a duet with Rod Stewart, and plans for the duet started in 1976, when Rod visited the band during the A Day at the Races sessions. This didn't come to light though until 7 years later, in the work sessions where Rod returned. A few takes were recorded before the band gave up on the project. In 1993, Brian, Roger and John took all of the complete vocals from Freddie and built a song around it, resulting in Let Me Live. A snippet of Freddie and Rod recording the song can be heard in the Great Pretender documentary.
All I do is give all you do is take. Sorry.
Victory is a song written by Freddie and Michael Jackson around 1983 and ended up on the Jacksons album of the same name without any other involvement from Freddie. According to archivist Greg Brooks, the song originally included backing vocals by Queen, and the band later attempted a demo of the song themselves in the work sessions. During the 88-89 period, there were plans for a 6-show tour across the UK named the Miracle Pavilion, and the opening or closing show was going to take place at the Dominion Theatre. The band had thought of ways to conceal Freddie's health as well, including being taken off stage for lengthy periods of time while the rest of the band would improvise. There were also talks of filming one of the shows for a VHS, which would have been released in the summer of '89. Ultimately, the tour was cancelled due to Freddie's health declining faster than expected, and the rare live VHS was released instead, showing clips from past shows. This one pretty much explains itself. A baby was born in the crowd sometime during the evening and is the youngest ever person to attend a Queen concert. In 2012, Brian and Roger announced that they wanted to track down this person, who had been 25 at the time, but unfortunately didn't find them. Originally named I Don't Want to Be a Rolling Stone, this was a demo recorded by the band and later with Barry during the Hot Space sessions in Mountain Studios, and later evolved into the B-side to Radio Gaga I Go Crazy. Brian recalls this session in a recent interview, saying that it was very different to the version that we started off with when David was around. In 1974, Trident Studios, Queen's record company at the time, wanted the band to release a live album, and so recorded their performances at the Rainbow in both March and November, with all recordings also filmed and due to be released as a performance film along with the album. In the end, the project was forgotten, probably due to the successful release of the third album, Sheer Heart Attack, in November. It was released in the form of bootlegs in the following decades until 2014, when it was officially released. I'm pretty sure this is just a misheard lyric from the operatic section of Bo Rap, possibly a case of the Mandela effect. Weirdly, Metro Lyrics actually has this written as the song's lyrics, along with an added "and." Assassin is a yet-to-be-released demo created in the Innuendo sessions, which is confirmed to exist by Queen archivist Greg Brooks. There is not much information about the track other than that it's an early demo of Innuendo and sounds similar to Led Zeppelin's Kashmir. Greg, however, denied the fact that it was an Innuendo outtake, leaving us with not much of a description of what it sounds like. This track is infamous for its fake demo on YouTube, which includes a laughably bad vocalist attempting to imitate Freddie. A version of Play the Game featuring the Bee Gees' younger brother Andy Gibb is said to exist from the 1980 spring issue of the Fan Club magazine. According to the magazine, Freddie was impressed with Andy's vocal abilities and so invited him onto the track. Queen producer Reinhold Mack has also confirmed that this version does in fact exist, but it is unknown if the tapes have survived over the years. This was an incident at the University of Stirling. When the band refused to play a fourth encore, riots were caused. Sound systems were heavily damaged, 2 people were stabbed, and a few crew members and Roger were injured and taken to hospital. The crowd stormed onto the stage where Freddie, Roger and 2 roadies were standing. Freddie was the only one on stage who managed to get off in time. The royal family were a group of dedicated fans who followed the band around to their live performances. They taped most performances and met the band regularly. They are also big collectors and are rumored to have studio rarities, as well as the studio recording of Hangman. Queen respected and liked the royal family, and Freddie even mentioned them in the 1979 Paris performance. Splixblack, who's a member of the royal family, wrote about what it was like to be part of the group, and I'll leave a link to his post in the description below. Right, so it turns out that the post that I was just talking about right now has just been deleted, so unfortunately you can't see that, but I just wanted to mention it.
Something so dear and so dear tonight explodes.
I found that this was a performance at the Beacon Theatre in New York. According to Freddie, whilst he was at the front of the stage, 2 girls were fighting over the scarf around his neck. He said that he was nearly strangled, and the incident left him with a few bruises. Albert was the name of a guitar player for a band that John Deacon created in 1970, just named Deacon. The band played 1 gig in Chelsea College in London in November that year before disbanding soon after. The band also included Don Carter on drums and Peter Stoddard on additional guitar. The unusual thing about Albert though is that unlike the other members, nothing is known about him, not even his full name. According to Spider, these threats took place between the Dublin and Glasgow shows and were sent by a group of very extreme fans called the Royal Family, whom I talked about previously. Supposedly, they wrote a message to the band saying that if they didn't play Liar in their next show, Newcastle, they wouldn't come out of there alive. It is not detailed in the information that I could find if the whole group sent this message or if it was just a few, but nonetheless, Queen played the track. On the 8th of January, Freddie performed a few songs with a band called Taxi in the Hog's Grunt pub in Cricklewood. Taxi was a band created by Peter Straker, who was friends with Freddie at the time. Freddie had actually produced a few of Peter's albums, and he most notably appears in drag with Roger and Freddie in the Great Pretender video. A video snippet of the performance has recently surfaced on YouTube, and a full recording is known to exist. This was Queen's first and only performance in New Zealand due to the performance not even selling out. Queen were half an hour late on stage due to Freddie getting drunk with Spandau Ballet's Tony Hadley, who was there because his New Zealand dates were cancelled. His manager told him to keep a low profile, which he obviously didn't do as he joined Freddie on stage for a performance of Jailhouse Rock. Tony was too drunken to know a single word to the song though, and ended up singing Tutti Frutti instead. Roger recalled in 2011 that the first half an hour of the gig was terrifying for Brian, Roger and himself, as they had to work extra hard to make up for the constant mistakes that Freddie was making. From a quick date search, I found that this was a performance at Tottenham Mayfair. It was a really small venue for Queen at the time, with only a few hundred in the audience. The lighting rig was too big to fit in the venue, so they instead resorted to spotlights. You Make Me Happy When I'm About to Die is a cut lyric from the 1991 song Delilah from the album Innuendo. The track is the most playful and humorous of the album, and this lyric inclusion would give the song a much darker tone. Freddie, who was suffering severely from AIDS at the time, wrote the song as a final farewell to his cat Delilah, and this original line makes it all the more clear. I couldn't find much about this, but in their 1984 performance in Dublin, they performed the A Day at the Races outro instead of the usual God Save the Queen, due to threats being made against the group saying that they would bomb the venue if they played it. This crazy event managed to happen on the same night as a birth and on Freddie's final performance with the band. A crazy fan decided to climb a lighting tower to get a better view of the performance, but accidentally fell onto someone who was clearly not very happy with this. He pulled out a knife, stabbed the man, and left him to bleed to death. Someone in the crowd called an ambulance, but by the time they had arrived, it was too late. Freddie said upon learning about the fan's death that if people have to die because they want to see them, he'll never perform live again. Queen's first concert in Mexico wasn't the greatest for them. They had planned to play 9 concerts but only played 3 due to behind the scenes issues, most notably with the Mexican crew who were treating the band poorly. Another reason was due to the band and their crew being given fake KFC. They realised after tasting the food that this was no ordinary Kentucky Fried Chicken. After being analysed a day later in LA, they turned out to be deep fried rats and kittens. This obviously scared the band and they flew to the US to sort things out. They reluctantly returned a few days later to play 2 more shows, and things got even worse. Their one toilet didn't even have a lock. The band's crew were forced to eat the local food, which caused them to be sick regularly. Various objects were thrown at the band throughout the show, most notably shoes, which Freddie got progressively frustrated with, and Brian was hit by socks full of dirt during his bow rap solo. This was due to most of the crowd being drunk, and Freddie walking out at the start of the show with a sombrero, which the crowd took offence to. Most of Freddie's frustration can be heard in the audience recording that can be found online, and I'll show you a few clips of it now to give you a taste.
Come on, motherfuckers, let's get the beat. Gonna stay around, gonna stay around, gonna stay around. I think I go home, I think I go home, I think I go home right now, right now. Thank you for the shoes. Adios, amigos, you motherfuckers. You want your tacos, goodbye. Ciao.
The band ended up having to sign a legal document ensuring they would return the following night to prevent riots. Because of the events of these shows, concerts were banned in Puebla for the next 10 years. In the winter 1981 official fan club magazine, Roger wrote, "Glad to be back from Mexico. It was hell, difficult to say the least. Nasty authorities, corrupt officials and food poisoning, plus risk of death, etc. Apart from that, it was wonderful." Queen's first 3 performances at the Sun City are usually cited as their worst, mainly due to Freddie's vocal state at the time. According to Peter Freestone, Freddie's assistant, Freddie was given steroids to help him with his tight throat after the first performance. A fan also said that Freddie was rubbing his throat a lot during the second performance. On the 3rd night, Freddie stood up from his piano and left the stage with tears of disappointment after losing his voice on the 4th song, Somebody to Love. The auditorium went dark and the crowd, suspecting Freddie to return, did the stomp stomp clap of We Will Rock You. Not long after the show, organiser appeared on stage and announced that the show was over. The night before, Freddie had partied so hard that he missed the 2 PM soundcheck the next day. He was extremely hungover and was puking side stage, and according to a fan who attended the concert, was spitting up blood during the show, which could be early signs of his AIDS. This was the only time in performance history that Queen didn't manage to finish a show as planned. Following dates, October 9th and 10th, were cancelled due to this. They returned to play 2 more concerts on the 14th and 19th of October after Freddie was recovered and well. This one is a bit anticlimactic, but a concert reviewer went to several of Queen's concerts to review in the latest issue of the Windsor Star. Somehow, he misheard of Freddie's name, thinking it was Eric, and is referred to this throughout the review. So, Shooting heck. So there you have it. There you have the Queen Iceberg, all explained. There you go, right there. Hope you enjoyed this video as much as I have researching and compiling this information for you. And thanks to Spider the Duck for creating this iceberg. If you like this video, please leave a like, obviously. And if you didn't like this video, then please leave a dislike. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.